What's up, y'all? You know what I'm saying? Back at it once again. Koski on the fun day, coming back with this African history. And I'm about to show Shamba Bolongongo, and the African King of Peace. This is an old from Dr. Morris Siegel, Professor of Anthropology, Columbia University, summer session 1957. This is kind of old. Economic Affairs Officer in the Department of Economic Affairs of the United Nations. So this comes from, he's the former Economic Affairs and Department of Affairs of the United Nations. We'll see that in Columbia in 1957. Much of Africa's native history has been lost to posterity through the lack of written records. Occasionally, however, special circumstances have enabled scholars to pursue or rescue submission data so that a clearer picture of a particular African people and its ethos may be discerned. Such a case with the Bushongo, an extraordinary group of tribes inhabiting the present-day Belgian Congo, or what we call the Congo Zaire, or the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Bushongo developed and maintained for centuries an advanced, complex type of political organization which fell under the harsh impact of European invasion in the late 19th century. Further, these tribes repeatedly gave birth to outstanding leaders who instituted and carried out the constructive policies that made the Bushongo a great nation. Perhaps the most outstanding among them was Shamba Bolongongo, a king who reigned about 600 AD, and epitomized the essential spirit and character of the Bushongo people. In 1884, when the Europeans first encountered the Bushongo, a Bantu-speaking federation of 17 tribes living along the Kasi and Kasua rivers of the Congo, they found a powerful nation, proud of its long history and traditions. Officially appointed historians of the Bushongo Kingdom kept account of 121 dynasties, going back to the 5th century AD. Each ruler customary named 2 tribesmen and charged them with the task of learning the nation history from their predecessors. Thus, the memories of the king and important events were kept alive by word-of-mouth transmission from generation to generation. The solar eclipse of March 30th, 1680, which occurred during the reign of Bokama Bololama Shala, the 98th monarch, made it possible for investigators to work out the approximately chronology of the Bushongo dynasties. In addition, native legends provided information as far back as the 3rd ruler, a woman named Lobamba, who held the throne in 490 AD. Shamba Bolongongo exhibited early desire to learn from the foreigner, and equally important, to teach people new things. When he was 19 years old and the heir to the throne, he requested of the king and queen permission to travel beyond the borders of the Bushongo kingdom. This request seemed fantastic to the rulers because of the dangers attached to foreign travel. Dangers from wild beasts and even more deadly from strange and unknown tribes. Naturally, therefore, the king and queen strongly opposed the trip. But they could not hold out long against Shabango's fervent entreaties, nor against his logical desire to learn. Hence, Shamba, accompanied by a large entourage of aides, servants, and warriors, undertook a lasting 2 years, during which he traveled far and absorbed knowledge that made him great and wise rulership of the Bushongo to the present day. It was this journey that Shamba first observed the practice of monogamy, and what he saw made a deep impression on him. By the time he returned to Bushongo land, the king had died, and Shamba Bushongo had ascended to the throne. During his kingship, Shamba introduced many significant cultural changes among his people. He taught them, for example, to weave the rafa fiber into cloth, even though the Bushongo had cloth themselves with fragile bark cloth. He taught them to cultivate kasa, a plant which locusts could not destroy, therefore augmented that the uncertain staple of food supplies of maize and millet. Now, remember, he's king in the 1600s. We looked up back here again. He was king in the 1600s, right? You know what I'm saying? We take a look back up here. Who reigned about 1600 AD. But the people was already used to eating corn and millet, maize and millet. So if maize is already there in Africa and maize is supposed to come from Mexico, that should tell you something. He initiated the art of embroidery and furthermore encouraged all forms of arts and crafts to such extent that it maintained the highest development during his reign. He instructed his people the game of Leah, known as Manaka elsewhere in Africa, a game of skill and attempt to divert their passion for gambling. Shamba Bolongongo abolished war, which he abhorred, and restricted his armed forces to police duty. He eliminated the use of bows and arrows and the shango, a many-blade throwing knife which had given the name to the people. As a simple war of passion of peace, King Shamba ordered that the state knife be exchanged for one with a wooden blade during the moonless nights, a custom that persisted to the 20th century among the Bushongo. Though he hated war, Shamba made the name Bushongo respected all over the land. His subjects traveled freely among the neighboring tribes in pursuit of commerce. Bushongo trainers wearing nothing other than the arm with a leaf-shaped knife of the state, shown right here. No, excuse me, not shown right here. This is one of the artworks they have. One of the statue of Shamba Bolongongo by the artists of his court, showing the king seated in front of the Lila board, which was recognized and left unmolested. If the subject was killed in some different village, King Shamba would exclaim, "Who do these people think we are? Women, because we love peace? Sound the war horn." Shamba, armed with swords, then went off like a swarm of locusts to attack the offenders. They burned the villages, destroyed the crops, and cut down the plantain trees. Plantains are bananas, another form of banana. But the bloodshed was avoided, for Bushongo man neither another man, woman, nor child, for are they children of Shambi, God? Do they not have a right to live? Only those who were resisted were hurt. And by the strength of their numbers, the Bushongo obliged the rest to submit, pay fines, and give hostages. Although Bushongo readily accepted one of Shamba's innovations, they were not easy to persuade to give up polygamy for monogamy. The king waged a long campaign, and when the time seemed especially propitious, he called the tribal leaders together and told them the following tale. Once there was a man who had 2 dogs. He loved these dogs dearly, and they loved him too. Every day they accompanied to the fields, and after the day tasks were done, the 3 of them returned home and ate dinner. He always gave each dog a separate meal. For a long time, the man lived happily and peaceful with his 2 dogs. One day, misfortune struck. While working in the field, a heavy storm broke and drenched both the man and dogs. Exacerbated, the man became careless and bent on his hoe on a rock. When he tried to repair the hole, he cut his left hand deeply with the axe. He could not finish the day's work until long after dark. Hungry, tired, and irritable, the man wearily and silently trudged home, and the dogs tagging along. He quickly cooked dinner, but found there was only remains for one large meaty bone for the 2 dogs. Impatiently, he had hacked away for the bone for a while. When unable to split it, he became furious and tossed one bone to the dogs. They fought so viciously over that bone that soon afterwards both the dogs died of wounds. The tragedy left the man saddened and forlorn. Shamba Bolongongo paused for a moment and then said, "The moral of the story is quite plain. To every dog his bone, to every woman her man, and peace will reign in the village." The tribal history relates with that story that Shamba seemingly convinced Bushongo to adopt monogamy, a marriage form which they had continued to until the present day. Shamba Bolongongo's striking political reforms undoubtedly constitute one of his greatest strategic contributions to Bushongo life. He was responsible for introducing the basic democratic principles which permeated over the entire administrative structure, both nationally and locally. Most notably among his role, he gave to essential crafts in industry and government. At the height, the Bushongo nation was probably both an elaborate organization of governments ever developed in Africa, one of which is clearly made a description as an example of Aboriginal African politics capabilities. The Bushongo nation consisted of a confederation of 17 tribes, which the Lobamba tribe, where the Maginga, the capital, was located, formed the core. The government comprised of an extensive hierarchy of officials who consisted of the royal court and served under the supreme authority of the king. This hierarchy numbered 118 officials, including administrative, judicial, military, and tribal functionaries, as well as representatives of various Bushongo crafts and industry and the core dignitaries. In addition, 14 women held official positions. The nation was divided administratively into 4 provinces, each headed by an official who ranked among the 6 highest in the land. The king throughout the government as an absolute monarch by the virtue of his descent from the direct line of Shambi, the supreme deity of the nation. Practically, however, the hierarchy of officials performed a large part of the governmental activities. The king owned all the fields and held exclusive right to grant thus surplus, but he could not sell any land. Succession to the throne descended to the female line, i.e. the sons of the eldest sister in the royal family by age. The king right to disinherit such a succession as he chooses, which made it possible to designate the next king, which qualified it by restrictions forbidding him to go beyond illegitimate heirs. The hierarchy of 118 officials were distributed through 7 categories. A group of women functionaries constituted the 8th. The 6th official held the highest ranks, representing a group probably the most powerful administrative body in the Bushongo system. At the top was the prime minister, who served as additional supreme judge and replaced the king when the latter was absent from office. The next 4 official representatives of the nation's 4 provinces. The commander-in-chief of the army occupied the 6th highest office and as part of his duty presided in a court that involved injuries inflicted by means of sharp instruments. The second category of officials included individuals charged with special administrative functions. The chief treasurer, for example, received all gifts and tributes offered to the king, while the third treasurer exclusively collected funeral taxes. Another member of this group was listed as assigned to one of the provincial heads. The judiciary comprised of 15 judges in addition to the prime minister and the commander-in-chief. Each judge presided over cases involving a particular crime and no other. For example, one judge tried individuals charged with theft. Another sat in cases of matrimonial disputes. The third judge decided whenever the certain deaths were suicide, if so, the parents of the deceased were subject to penalties. 2 judges heard of sorcery or witchcraft trials, and it's worth noting that the action causing the material damage to either a community or a person was punished by crimes, but accidents resulting in death and homicide done in self-defense were not deemed punishable. Modern observers have reported that the Bushongo trials were conducted in meticulous fairness. 15 officials served as representatives as an additional, more important tribes under Bushongo rule. In addition to the 4 provincial heads, including an administrative category, the council of 6 officials headed by the king managed all the affairs related to the Lobamba tribe, the nuclear group of the Bushongo nation. The 2 officials represented the Bake tribe, one the Penji and the Batwa, and the Bengini tribe. All essential crafts and industries represented the king court, where the delegate participated actively in the administration of the government. 18 trade representatives included wood sculptors, weavers, blacksmiths, leather workers, singers, dancers, musicians, fishermen, hunters, oak makers, oil manufacturers, mat makers, salt producers, tailors, rope makers, hoisters, and spinners of thread. Oddly, one member of this category was an official representative, fathers of twins. The individual representing the wood sculpture ranked above all others in the group, and even over the delegates of the dancer, who was the son of the king. 4 military officials assisted commander-in-chief and voiced the rights of the military to the king's court. A large continuance of 58 court dignitaries filled the remaining official posts. This group included a 16-member council of elders, several positions described as censors, 5 king messengers, the first and the second and third heirs are representative, and so on and so on. The 14 women officials were under the leadership of the 2 sisters of the daughters of the king. These 2 ranked among the highest officials in the land among the top 6 officials. Women, in fact, enjoyed a considerable prestige and power in Bushongo life, emphasized by the great role according to the king and mother. She was regarded as the first person of the kingdom. In certain aspects, she wielded even more authority than her son. Several women, moreover, served an important role in the Council of Elders. A political organization of the individual tribes of the Bushongo nation reflected that of a central government. Each tribal chief was surrounded by a hierarchy of officials, judicials, military, administrative, court dignitaries, and a prime minister. Through the successions of the chieftainship, followed by the same rules that applied to the kingship, and the nomination of a tribal chief required the king's ratification. Within each tribe, the local chiefs maintained a similar, though smaller administration organization. Although all government officials enjoyed a permanent tenure in office, but their posts were not hereditary. Theoretically, the nomination of an individual to a vacant post was a prerogative of the sovereign. In general practice, however, public opinion largely determined the king's choices. The above brief description presents the bare outline of the main features of the complex political system developed by the Bushongo prior to contacts with the Europeans. It is a system of checks and balances in which the voice of the people may be heard through its delegates at the royal courts representing all trades and industry. Now I'm going to stop right there. As I said before, the above description is a bare outline of the main complex development system of the Bushongo before contact prior with the Europeans. But as I showed earlier, and this paper stated, they already had maize. They had corn there. So how the hell did they get corn if corn come from Mexico? Because we black people was already traveling back and forth. You know what I'm saying? He had boat makers, he had all that stuff. It was a system of checks and balances in which the voice of the people made itself heard through the delegates of the royal and local courts representing all trades and industry. King Shamba Bolongongo, introducing such representation into the government, gave strong impetus to the very slowly developed democratic forms of emerging were emerging, in the Bushongo life. Indeed, the Bushongo people were well on their way to a high political, aesthetic, and ethical civilization when the Europeans invaded Congo. One cannot help but to wonder what would happen if this extraordinary people had been left alone to work out their own destiny. And there you have it. What would have happened if these people had been left alone to work out their own destiny? And as you know today, the Congo, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, and its new scramble for Africa, as I stated in the video before about Dan Glesker and Glenn Core and people like that, just raping the Congo, just raping the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. You know what I'm saying? Dan Glesker, the Israeli billionaire diamond king, one mine makes $600 million for him. As much as he's killing them. Anyway, much love to this African king, that's not spoken of, not thought about in our history, who had their laws and principles of democracy, and something we should try to reset the Black community in worldwide. We should try to reset it up like that. Put the women in a proper place. Put the elders in the council. You know what I'm saying? Make sure, how the people being represented. You know what I'm saying? A direct democracy, not the kind of one that we have, Jeffersonian democracy that we have right now in the United States. That you're going to vote for some stiff shoot that's ran by a corporation, not ran by the people. Anyway, much love. This is Iskosi Umfundisi. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe to the channel. And I hope you enjoyed this wonderful view of a King Shamba Bolongongo. Peace.